What if your reality wasn't something you react to, but something you create? This is not a motivational idea. It's a spiritual law, and the moment you understand it, not just with your mind, but with your whole being, your life will never be the same. Neville Goddard once said, "Change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live." It's not about changing your job, your home, or your relationships. It's about changing you, the inner man, the inner woman, the inner I am that defines the world you see. In the next few moments, you will be shown 5 simple practices that have the power to rearrange your inner world in just 7 days. These are not physical habits. They are acts of consciousness. And consciousness, as Neville taught, is the only reality. Pause and ask yourself, what would your life look like if you assumed completely and faithfully that you already are what you desire to be? Most people never give themselves the permission to do that. They wait for life to give them evidence before they allow themselves to feel the wish fulfilled. But in doing so, they miss the key that opens every door. The inner act must come first. Let's be clear, these 5 practices won't work if you dabble. This is not about entertaining an idea. It's about living from a new state for 7 days. Not forever, not for years, just 7 days. In 7 days you'll know whether or not you've truly accepted your new identity. Not because the world has changed instantly, but because your reactions have. Because your assumptions feel natural. Because something in you no longer doubts. This video is for those who are ready, not to try harder, but to assume differently. We'll walk through each principle together. I'll guide you into what it means, how to apply it, and how to test it in your own life. By the end, you'll not only know the 5 steps, you'll feel them. And when that happens, the outer world will have no choice but to follow. So find a quiet space. Give yourself permission to believe in the unseen, to return to your own center of power. Because if you do these 5 things just as I'll show you, and you do them faithfully for only 7 days, your life will never be the same. Let's begin. 1 inner act at a time. Master the state, not the outcome. Neville Goddard taught that all transformation begins with a single movement, an inner act of assumption. He didn't ask us to fix the world. He asked us to assume our place in it, as we desire it to be. And in that quiet, unseen act, something profound begins to shift. We're so used to believing that life changes when we do something big. Start a new job, move to a new city, find a new relationship. But this is backwards. All of those things are simply reflections of the state we are inhabiting. Neville wrote, "Do not condition your assumption. Just dare to assume you are what you want to be. That assumption, though false to the outer senses, if persisted in, will harden into fact." So I invite you now to ask a much deeper question. Not, what do I want to achieve? But who must I become to naturally live that life? Because the moment you shift the state you identify with, you begin to draw into your world experiences that match it, naturally, effortlessly, without force. Let's bring this into practice. Choose 1 desire, just 1. This isn't about overwhelming yourself with a dozen new goals. Massive transformation doesn't come from multitasking inner work. It comes from full attention to a single shift in being. Perhaps it's financial security, or a loving relationship, or inner peace. Whatever it is, distill that desire into a simple, vivid mental scene, a moment in time that would only be true if your wish were fulfilled. What would be happening in your world if this desire were already a fact? Would someone congratulate you? Would you be signing a paper? Would you be smiling as you open your bank account or hold the hand of someone who truly sees you? Now condense it. Don't imagine the entire story. Choose a scene you can replay like a song. Make it short, emotionally rich, and complete. Then every day for the next 7 days, return to that scene, especially at night, just before you drift into sleep. This is the doorway between the conscious and the subconscious where reality is most malleable. Close your eyes, breathe, relax your body, then enter your scene as though you were in it, not watching it. Use all your senses. Hear the words. Feel the environment. Notice the expression on your face. Feel the satisfaction in your chest. And most importantly, feel it as real. Let your imagination become the womb of creation. Let it impress upon your deeper mind the feeling that this is now who you are. If your mind drifts to doubt, gently bring it back. Not with force, but with faith. And here's the key. Remain loyal to that scene throughout the day. Don't entertain counter thoughts. Don't rehearse the old story. No matter what the outer world shows you, Hold to your new identity as if it were already established. This practice is not visualization for the sake of fantasy. It is being. It is embodying the end. It is claiming your place in the reality you have chosen and refusing to argue with appearances that contradict it. Neville said, "Man, clinging to the visible world, is constantly looking for some new thing, and all along the real cause of the phenomena of life is the unseen imaginal activity of man." So pause and ask yourself, what one assumption could you remain faithful to for just 7 days, even if the world seems to say otherwise? The world you experience tomorrow will arise from the state you dwell in tonight. Choose the state, assume the feeling, and repeat it, not out of desperation, but out of devotion. Because the moment you make that single inner act your spiritual home, everything else begins to arrange itself around it. Repetition is revelation. Assume it until it feels natural. Repetition is often misunderstood. In the world of personal development, it's sometimes treated as mechanical effort, doing the same thing over and over until something happens. But Neville Goddard reveals something far more mystical. Repetition is the bridge between imagination and embodiment. He wrote, "A change of feeling is a change of destiny, and that change of feeling doesn't arrive by chance. It arrives by dwelling repeatedly in the state of the wish fulfilled, until that state becomes your natural dwelling place. At first, the scene you imagined may feel foreign. You might feel like you're pretending. But understand this, when you assume something new, your current state will protest. Your senses will argue. The world around you might appear unchanged. This is not a sign that it isn't working. It is the evidence that the old state is losing ground." Neville didn't recommend effort. He recommended faithful return. That's what repetition is. A quiet, unwavering return to the new identity, the new assumption, the new version of yourself you have chosen. Think of it like breaking in new shoes. At first they feel stiff, unfamiliar, but the more you wear them, the more natural they become. Eventually you forget they were ever new. So it is with your assumptions. Each time you repeat your imaginal scene, you are instructing your subconscious to accept it as truth, not through logic, not through external validation, but through feeling, through saturation, through embodiment. This is why repetition is not about intensity. It's about consistency. You don't need to visualize for hours. You need to return for a few sacred moments again and again throughout your day, until your inner world begins to reflect your new belief automatically. Neville once said, "We are only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination." So here is your task for the next 7 days. Build the muscle of attention. Choose small ways to bring your scene into the foreground. Set an inner alarm, not a physical one, but a soft commitment to pause 2 or 3 times a day and revisit your inner world. Feel the scene. Whisper to yourself, "It is done," not with desperation but with calm certainty. Write it down if it helps. Not pages of journaling, just one line of truth. "I am now the person I chose to be." As the days pass, notice how your reactions begin to shift. Where you once reached for doubt, you now return to conviction. Where you once felt separate from your desire, you begin to feel fused with it. This is not accidental. This is not wishful thinking. This is what happens when you choose to inhabit a state until it feels familiar, safe, inevitable. And this is the secret. It is not enough to feel it once. A single spark of imagination can ignite the flame, but it is your repeated return to the flame that keeps it burning. So ask yourself, could your transformation come not from trying harder, but from returning more faithfully to the invisible scene of your fulfilled desire? You are not begging the universe. You are not waiting for permission. You are reminding yourself of who you truly are, until you no longer need to remember because you simply are. Cut off the old man. Protect your inner conversations. Transformation is not just about building a new self. It is also about releasing the grip of the old one. Neville referred to the old man as the former self, the identity shaped by doubt, habit, and repeated emotional reactions. To step into the new, you must be willing to die to the old. This isn't poetic. It's literal. You must stop identifying with the thoughts, feelings, and inner dialogues that belong to who you used to be. He wrote, "To be transformed, the whole basis of your thoughts must change, and this is where your greatest power lies. In the moment you become aware of your inner speech, the world outside you is made of echoes, but the world inside you, that quiet voice, that private script running through your day, is the cause. Most people live in a constant dialogue of lack. I hope it happens. Maybe I'm not ready. It never works out for me. They may visualize something beautiful at night but then spend the next 14 hours feeding the opposite assumption. They unknowingly worship the old state, keeping it alive with their attention. Neville called the discipline of watching your inner world a mental diet. And like any true discipline, it requires awareness, not perfection. Awareness. It starts with noticing. What do you say to yourself when things go quiet? What is the tone of your inner voice when no one is watching? Is it supportive, expectant, or is it skeptical, anxious, critical? If your thoughts are food, are you feeding your new identity or starving it? To cut off the old man, you must interrupt the automatic commentary, not with violence, not with force, but with clarity. Every time a thought arises that contradicts your new assumption, revise it on the spot. Don't argue with it. Don't debate it. Simply replace it. If your inner voice says this is going to take a long time, meet it with, it's already mine. If it says nothing's changing, return to the feeling, I am already there. This is not denial. This is redefinition. And the difference is everything. You must also begin to protect your mental environment. What are you consuming? Who are you listening to? What inputs are reinforcing the self you're leaving behind? Social media, conversations, even music. Each one has a frequency, a story it tells you about yourself. And every story you allow in becomes part of the script you live out. Remember, you cannot serve two masters. You cannot dwell in the house of abundance while listening all day to the gospel of lack. You must make your new assumption the center of your attention and treat everything else as background noise. This isn't isolation, it's devotion. So pause and reflect. What thought pattern are you still entertaining that contradicts who you now choose to be? Is it fear of the future? A need for validation? An unconscious belief in unworthiness? Identify it, not to shame it, but to disown it. Your inner conversations are not just personal, they are creative acts. You are speaking into the field of consciousness, which faithfully produces according to what you accept as true. Cut off the old man, not with resistance, but with remembrance. Remember who you are now. Remember what you've claimed. Let that be the voice you return to again and again until it is the only one you hear. Before we move on, pause with me for just a moment. If you've ever felt that strange sense that the world isn't quite what it seems, I've pinned something for you in the comment section. It's not a product, it's not a pitch, it's a reminder. Because sometimes all it takes is one sentence, one idea that hits you at just the right angle, to make everything click. So when this video ends, check the pinned comment. Don't rush past it. Let your next thought come from a higher place. Now, let's continue. Embodiment begins in the temple. Honor the body as the container of the I am. To live as a conscious creator, you must go beyond the intellect, beyond mere ideas. You must bring your assumption down into the very fibers of your being, into how you move, how you breathe, how you rest. That is embodiment. That is true faith made flesh. Neville Goddard spoke often of the creative power of imagination, of the law of assumption, of feeling as the secret. But there is another layer, often overlooked, the role of the body as the vessel through which the state of consciousness is expressed. While you are not the body, it is the container of your attention, the physical temple of your awareness, the living space of your I am. He wrote, "You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are the awareness animating both." This is not a rejection of the body, it's a repositioning of its role. The body does not initiate creation, but it receives and reflects it. It shows you where you are dwelling, and it also gives you the opportunity to anchor that dwelling more deeply into reality. Too often we attempt to assume a new identity only in the realm of thought. We try to believe differently, while our body is frozen in old habits, rushed breathing, tension in the shoulders, a hunched posture of defeat, frantic movement, or chronic exhaustion. The mind may say, I am abundant, but the body still lives in lack. It still carries the weight of a state we're trying to leave behind. This creates conflict, a split within the self, and that split weakens the power of your assumption. But when the body and imagination begin to align, when the posture and the breath match the inner feeling, something profound happens. The state becomes natural. It no longer requires effort. It settles in like a truth that was always there. So what does it mean to honor the body as the temple of the I am? First, it means presence. It means slowing down enough to feel where you are. Can you walk down the street not as someone trying to get somewhere, but as someone who has already arrived? Can you sit still without reaching for your phone just long enough to become aware of the breath? the bridge between spirit and form. Start noticing how your body behaves in different states. What does your body feel like when you're relaxed, confident, and connected to your ideal? What happens to your shoulders, your hands, your breath? How do you speak? How do you enter a room? Now ask yourself, how does your body behave when you're doubting, when you're reacting to the old world, when you're afraid the assumption won't hold? This contrast is not to shame you, it's to awaken you, because the body doesn't lie. It tells you exactly which state you are in, even when the mind tries to convince you otherwise. To live in a new assumption is to inhabit it physically, not through performance, but through intimacy with your own awareness. This doesn't mean pretending, it means becoming. Start with the morning. The first few moments of the day are sacred. They're the bridge between the subconscious state of sleep and your conscious activity. How do you wake up? Are you immediately rushing, grasping at your phone, flooded with old thoughts? Or can you allow yourself to pause, to breathe, to return to the state you went to sleep in? Even 5 minutes of quiet connection to your body, before the world gets your attention, is a powerful declaration. I choose to live from within. This might mean placing a hand on your chest and affirming the new state. It might mean stretching slowly and deliberately, as someone who is safe, empowered, and at peace. It might mean walking through your home as though it's the life you chose and not the one you're trying to escape. This is embodiment, not waiting for proof to act differently, but acting from the proof already accepted within. The body also needs rhythm. It thrives in patterns that honor its intelligence. Gentle movement, hydration, stillness, breath. These are not just health tips. They are practices of alignment. They help restore clarity to the vessel so your imagination can speak without static. Neville placed immense importance on sleep. He wrote, "Sleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Why? Because sleep is the most impressionable time of your day. As the conscious mind recedes, the subconscious stands open to receive whatever feeling state you bring into it. If you fall asleep in fear, the fear is seated. But if you enter sleep as the one who already is, already has, already knows, then that seed of assumption is carried deeply into the soil of consciousness. So what does this look like in practice? As you prepare for rest, don't collapse into bed in mental fatigue. Use those final moments. Let your breath slow, let your body soften, and return to your scene, not with effort, but with surrender. Let your entire being feel the truth of the wish fulfilled. You are not using your body to create the state, you are letting the body receive it, carry it, support it, express it. And this is the invitation. What would change if you honored your body not as something to fix, but as something sacred, something that reveals where you dwell and assists you in deepening that dwelling? Would you treat your movements differently? Would you enter each room with a sense of calm authority? Would you give your body permission to rest, knowing that your assumption is at work, even in stillness? Let your walk declare the state. Let your breath confirm it. Let your rest nurture it. Your body is not in the way of your manifestation. It is the stage upon which it unfolds. When imagination and embodiment move as one, assumption becomes reality, not in some distant future, but here, now, in form, in breath, in presence. Let the temple reflect the truth I am. Track the inner winds. Recognize the shift before the world reflects it. In the process of conscious creation, there comes a subtle but critical threshold, a point where nothing in the world appears different, but something in you is no longer the same. There are no fireworks, no grand confirmations. The desire hasn't physically arrived, the person hasn't called, the money hasn't hit the account, and yet, you find yourself responding differently, thinking differently, feeling differently. This is the beginning of the real shift. And unless you learn to recognize these inner movements as valid, real, and powerful, you will unconsciously dismiss the signs that your assumption is already working. Neville Goddard said, "Persist in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. That persistence will harden into fact." But what he also emphasized again and again is that this persistence is not just about holding a mental picture. It's about remaining faithful to an inner transformation, even in the complete absence of outer results. Let us be honest. Most people fall back into doubt, not because they failed to imagine properly, but because they never learned to value the inner evidence of transformation. They are so trained to look for proof in the physical world that they miss the most critical part of the journey, the moment when they begin to react from the new state, rather than just trying to believe in it. This chapter is about becoming sensitive to those moments. It is about building the kind of awareness that honors every small shift in consciousness as a seed of manifestation. Let us begin by asking, what is an inner win? It is not the phone call or the email or the unexpected check. Those are reflections, not causes. An inner win is the moment you begin to identify with the version of yourself who already has what they desire. It might be a moment of calm during a situation that would normally cause you anxiety, or a flash of joy when you revisit your imaginal scene and it no longer feels like wishful thinking. It feels like memory. It might be the way you decline a conversation that once drained you, without guilt, or how you walk down the street with a posture of ease and confidence you didn't have before. These things may not seem significant to the untrained eye, but to the conscious creator, they are milestones, because they signal that your inner world is changing, and since your outer world is always a reflection of your inner state, change is now inevitable. Neville spoke often about the bridge of incidents, a natural unfolding of events that leads you from your present experience to the fulfillment of your desire. But he also reminded us that the bridge is often invisible at first. It begins with a change in you, and if you ignore that change because it hasn't yet produced visible fruit, you are likely to abandon the state before the bridge has a chance to build itself. Imagine planting a seed. You water it, you nourish it, you protect the soil. Days go by and nothing appears. But deep beneath the surface, something is happening. Roots are forming. The soil is shifting. Life is beginning. Now imagine ripping the seed out of the ground because it didn't sprout quickly enough. This is what many do with their assumptions. They assume the new state for a day, a week, and when they don't see immediate results, they retreat to doubt. But manifestation is not immediate gratification. It is a harvest, and every harvest honors timing, process, and faith. So the work is to persist, not by pushing harder, but by noticing the wins. This is why I encourage you to begin a practice. A simple one, but powerful. Start tracking your inner shifts. Create what I call a feeling log, a space where you record not what the world has done, but how you've changed. Write down the moments you felt peaceful in the middle of uncertainty, when you heard your old inner voice whisper fear, and you chose not to listen, when you caught yourself smiling at a possibility, not because someone told you it was likely, but because you knew it was already yours. Document the days when you remembered your scene more often than you forgot it, when you caught synchronicities that reminded you of your desire, even if they seemed random, when you responded as the version of yourself who is no longer waiting. These are the real signs. They are not spectacular, but they are sacred, and as you begin to collect them, something beautiful happens. Your sense of faith matures. You no longer need to hope it's working. You know it is, because you are becoming the version of yourself who no longer doubts. You see, the physical world is not the source of your belief, it is the mirror of it, and a mirror does not change until the one standing before it moves first. Neville said, "Your reactions to life tell you where you are dwelling in consciousness. So when your reactions shift, you have already moved. You are already on the bridge. The law is already in motion. You must learn to treat those internal changes as your most valuable feedback, more valuable than numbers in a bank account, more valuable than texts from others. Because while all those things come and go, your state of consciousness determines everything." Let's bring this to life. Imagine someone who has long desired financial freedom. They've imagined the scene, they've assumed the state, but nothing appears to be happening. The bills are still there, the job still feels limiting, but then something subtle happens. They check their account, and instead of feeling fear, they feel a quiet assurance. It's temporary. They walk into a store and feel worthy of the things they see, even if they don't purchase them. They begin to speak with confidence about where they're going, not out of fantasy, but out of identity. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has. That is the shift that precedes all shifts. So ask yourself with honesty, can you remain loyal to the new state even when there is no external confirmation? Can you track your transformation, not by what happens out there, but by who you are becoming in here? Because the moment you can say yes to that, you are no longer creating out of need. You are creating from knowing, and the universe has no choice but to conform. You are not waiting for results. You are recognizing them in their most essential, most powerful form. And when the world finally reflects what you've already accepted within, it will feel familiar, natural, unsurprising, because you were living from it long before it arrived. Now that we've reached this point together, pause for a moment, not to analyze, but to feel what's already shifting in you. You haven't just heard about 5 practices. You've been invited to test them, to live them, not someday, not in theory, but now. Neville Goddard's entire teaching leads back to one simple truth. Consciousness is the only reality. The world around you isn't separate from you. It is shaped, moment by moment, by the state in which you dwell, not by your effort, not by your worthiness, but by what you assume to be true of yourself. What if the life you want isn't something you move toward, but something you return to? Because in imagination, you've already been there. Everything you've practiced leads back to this. The outer world is not the cause, it is the result. And the cause, always, without exception, is the state you accept as real. Let's return to what you now know. You've seen that change doesn't begin with outer actions. It begins with one assumption, a single imaginal act that implies your desire is already fulfilled. One short scene, one clear feeling, one moment of alignment with what you choose to be. You've learned that repetition is not mechanical. It's how the new becomes natural, not through pressure, but through steady return. Each time you revisit your scene, you're training your body and mind to accept it as your new reality. You've learned that protecting your inner conversations is not optional. It's essential. Your thoughts are not neutral. They're creative. You don't get to assume one thing in your imagination and speak another in frustration. You must speak from the state, not toward it. You've also remembered that the body is not in the way of imagination. It's the vessel that carries your state through the world. Your posture, your tone, your movement, these are not details. They are part of the story you are telling with your being. And finally, you've seen that real results begin with inner changes, quieter reactions, calmer thoughts, new choices that reflect your new identity. These are not small. They are the beginning of everything. So here's the invitation. Not to wait, not to plan, but to choose one assumption and live from it for 7 days. Don't complicate it. Choose one desire. Create one scene that implies it's already done. Feel it. Return to it. Let it shape how you walk, speak, think, and respond. Don't wait for evidence. Let your evidence be the feeling. Let your sign be the shift in how you carry yourself. Neville said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persist in that assumption, for it alone will call forth the thing desired and make it visible in your world." There is no one to convince, no one to compete with. There is only the question, are you willing to assume it's already true? If you are, then for 7 days hold to that, gently, quietly, without forcing. You don't need to see results to know it's working. You'll feel it. You'll recognize the moments when you no longer chase or wait or wonder, because you'll already be the version of yourself who has no need to question. And from that state, life will follow, not because you pushed it, but because you lived it. One desire, one scene, one state. Live from it for 7 days, not by forcing, but by quietly returning to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Let your thoughts and actions reflect the version of you who already has it. If doubt appears, remember, the outer follows the inner, always. Neville said, "Your assumption, though false if persisted in, will harden into fact." And if you're ready to see the world through a new lens, check the pinned comment. There's something there you won't want to miss. Let it deepen the shift you've already begun.